Welcome to Akademia EduConsult, a subsidiary of Akademia.com.ng, a one-stop portal where you learn everything you need to know in the area of the English language. I want to appreciate you for subscribing to Akademia EduConsult. If you are yet to subscribe, kindly click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can receive every video each time we put them on. We are moving on to look at the pronoun. What is a pronoun? In this video, we are going to look at the description of a pronoun, the different types of pronouns, and we are going to look at the functions of pronouns with illustrative examples. Let's start with a pronoun. A pronoun is an identifying word that we can use in the place of a noun. What does this mean? It means that we can inflect a pronoun in the same way we inflect nouns. Pronouns are used instead of nouns to avoid repetition of names, places, things, concepts, ideas, and so on and so forth that nouns are used to denote. Apart from representing nouns in sentences, pronouns are also used to ensure referential relationships, that is, to ensure that elements in a sentence hang together in an appropriate way. Let's see the various functions of pronouns. Pronouns function as a subject of the sentence. Remember that pronoun is an identifying word that can be used instead of a noun. That means most of the functions of a noun are also applicable to the functions of a pronoun. So that's why we said a pronoun functions as the subject of a sentence. For example, that is John. You are there. He has come. She will leave. She has arrived. We can do the job. We there is representing some people. That we could comprise John, Janet, and James. So instead of saying John, Janet, and James can do the job, you simply use the pronoun we, and that becomes we can do the job. Let's look at another function of pronouns. Pronouns also function as the object of the sentence. Let's see some examples. He killed it. Here, the it is representative of a particular noun, but is functioning in the objective position of the sentence. That is why we said pronouns also function as the object of the sentence. Let's see some more examples as displayed on the screen. Furthermore, pronouns can function as the complement of the object. They can complete the object. At this point, it would be good to check out the video on the differences between the direct object and the indirect object for more clarification. So here we said pronouns can function as the complement of the object. For example, we can prove the thief to be you. He regards his friend as me. Let's see some other examples as displayed on the screen. Moreover, pronouns can function as the complement of the preposition. Let's see some examples. Give the keys to him. Here we have the preposition to preceding the pronoun him. So we have give the keys to him. Another example, he is fond of her. The of is coming before the her, and the her is serving as the complement of that preposition of. So you have he is fond of her. Let's see some other examples as displayed on the screen. Now, let's talk about the different types of pronouns that we have in English. Just like we have different types of nouns in English, there are also different types of pronouns in English. The first type is referred to as the personal pronouns. These refer to persons speaking at a particular time. When you talk about personal pronoun from the name personal, they refer to the persons that are speaking at a particular time. In the English language, we have the first person, we have the second person, then we have the third person. Who is the first person? The first person is the speaker. The second person is the one you are speaking to. And the third person, the one you are speaking about. Let me explain that again. When you speak, you are the first speaker. You are the first person. The person you are communicating with, your interlocutor, is the second person, while that particular individual, the two of you are talking about, is the third person. Like we did say in the parts of speech video, that the parts of speech are divided into two parts, the open class and the closed class. You will need to check out that video. In the closed class, you cannot add any member. So the personal pronouns that we have in English are numbered. It means we know the total numbers of personal pronouns that we have in English. You can count on your fingers the total numbers of personal pronouns that we have in English. For example, you have the I, the we, me, us, you, he, the she, they, it, and them. All of these are the personal pronouns that we have in English. However, they exist in the singular and the plural form. They also exist as subject and as object. For instance, the first person singular is I, while the first person plural is we. The second person singular is you, while the second person plural is also you. The third person singular is he, she, or it. This depends on the gender. You can have the masculine gender, the feminine gender, or the neuter gender. That is neutral, is neither feminine nor masculine. The plural form of the third person, it's simply they. This first person, second person, and third person pronouns also have the way they exist in the subject form and in the object form. For instance, first person singular I becomes me. You remains the same. You is you in the singular form, in the plural form, in the subject form, in the object form. You remains you. Now, in the third person singular, where you have he, she, or it, in the objective case, they occur as them. In the third person plural, where you have they, the objective form of they is them. Now, let's go ahead to look at the second type of pronouns that we have in English, and that is the possessive pronoun. Possessive pronouns simply show possession, as the name goes, and they have various forms. The ones that can function as adjectives are called pronominal adjectives. If you remember in the video on the various types of nouns, we talked about the possessive nouns, and we did mention that they can function as possessive adjectives. So here we are saying that possessive pronouns simply show possession, and they have their various forms, and that the ones that can function as adjectives are called pronominal adjectives. For example, this is my house. This is my book. This book is mine. In this example above, you see my there shows possession. My book, my car, my house. Now, this book is mine. The pronoun mine there shows possession. Now, a pronoun can function as a modifier, and all modifiers are adjectives. A modifier is a word, phrase, or a clause that gives more information or that changes or enhances the meaning of another word in a sentence, and that word it enhances is usually the noun, which is the head word in that sentence. Let's see some examples of possessive pronouns as shown in the table displayed on the screen. Let's see some further examples. One of its legs is faulty. The bag is theirs. The key is mine. The bag is yours. Let's go on to see another type of pronoun that we have in English. This is called reflexive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns are those pronouns that end in the word self, and you have the plural as selves, and they refer to a noun or pronoun that has occurred earlier in the same sentence. Let's see some examples. The lady drove herself. Remember when we talked about the definition of pronouns, we said pronouns are also referential in nature. That is, they refer to another element in the sentence in order to avoid repetition. Here we have the example, the lady drove herself. Herself is making reference to the lady. Herself refers to the lady that has earlier been mentioned in this same sentence. Let's see some other examples. He cut himself while shaving. She has cured herself of the habit. They are also referred to as emphatic pronouns because sometimes they are used for the purpose of emphasis. Let's see some examples. She posted the letter herself. The children washed the plates themselves. We stack the books ourselves. Now, when you look at this, they are not only referring to the noun or the pronoun in the same sentence, they are also emphasizing. For instance, you can say she posted a letter, and that will be okay. But here you are bringing the emphatic pronoun herself to emphasize the fact that she was the one and not another who posted the letter. So you have, she posted the letter herself. The children washed the plates themselves. We stack the books ourselves. In addition, reflexive pronouns are also used to indicate that something or someone is alone. For example, the house stands by itself. Now, there is a referential sense here from itself to the house because the house is itself. But much more than that, it's also showing that this house is alone. No other house is within the vicinity. So you have the house stands by itself. She lives by herself, meaning no other person lives with her. Let's go on to see another type of pronoun that we have in English, and that is reciprocal pronouns. When you talk about reciprocal pronouns, these are pronouns that are used when the action expressed by the verb is shared by two parties concerned. In other words, reciprocal pronouns are used to convey the idea of reciprocity or a two-way relationship. Now, reciprocal pronouns are each other and one another. They are just two members. They are in a close class. You can't add your own. We have only two types, each other and one another. Now, when you talk about each other, it is usually associated with two people, while the latter, that is one another, is associated with more than two people. But like we say always, the rule is not rigid. Let's see the following examples. They do not love each other anymore. The children were calling one another names. The two families were always criticizing one another. Jane and Janet like each other. Nigerians love one another. It is more appropriate to say Nigerians love one another than to say Nigerians love each other, because each other conveys the idea of only two people involved. Let's go on to see some other types of pronouns that we have in English. We have the demonstrative pronouns. As the name goes, these pronouns, they point to specific persons, places, or things, and they are 4 in number, and they have their singular and their plural forms. Let's see these 4 demonstrative pronouns. They are this, that, these, and those. These 4 pronouns should not be confused with the demonstrative adjectives or determinants, which are used to indicate things or people in relation to the speaker or writer in space or time. Now, in this context, this and these indicate nearness to the speaker, while that and those indicate distance from the speaker. Now, demonstrative pronouns are similar to demonstrative determinants or adjectives, except that they stand alone as nouns rather than preceding nouns. How do you differentiate between demonstrative pronouns and demonstrative adjectives or determinants? The difference is that demonstrative pronouns stand alone as nouns rather than preceding a noun. Let's see some examples. What is that? Here, that is an example of a demonstrative pronoun, not a demonstrative determiner or an adjective. Let's see further examples. These are interesting books. Those are not their clothes. More examples are displayed on the screen. Now, when you talk about demonstrative adjectives or demonstrative determinants, they have to precede a noun. Let's see some examples. Will you take this book home? You see, this in that context is a modifier or a determinant or an adjective modifying the noun book. Will you take this book home? Let's see further examples. These flowers are for you. Get that man out of here. That man. You see, that modifying the noun man. Aren't those cars over there expensive? So you could see the difference between the demonstrative pronouns and the demonstrative adjectives. The demonstrative pronouns can stand alone as nouns in themselves, but the demonstrative adjectives have to precede a noun. The next type of pronouns that we have in English is the interrogative pronouns. When you talk about interrogative pronouns, they are simply used to ask questions, to elicit information. And these include who, whose, what, which, and whom. Let's look at some examples of interrogative pronouns. Who asked you to go there? What did you do to her? Whose books are those? Which is yours? To whom did you address the letter? Now, when you talk about whom, it functions as a prepositional complement or complement of the preposition. We're going to talk later on about the preposition. Interrogative pronouns can also function as adjectives. For example, whose car is that? Now, in this sense, you are using that interrogative pronoun whose to modify the noun car. Whose car is that? Which book is yours? What story are you reading? You see, the interrogative pronouns whose, which, and what are all modifying the nouns car, book, and story. Let's move on to talk about the relative pronouns. In the English language, relative pronouns are pronouns that introduce relative or adjectival clauses in a sentence. When you talk about a relative or an adjectival clause, you are talking about a subordinate clause that performs the function of an adjective. It qualifies or gives more information about a specific noun that you have in a sentence. So the corollary of that is that a relative pronoun, therefore, acts as the subject in the subordinate clause. The relative pronouns are similar to the demonstrative pronoun, but they are not exactly the same when you use them in their proper context. Let's see examples of relative pronouns. We have the who, we have whom, we have whose, we have that, and which. Let's put them in some sentences to make this clearer. That is the man who stole your purse. She is the lady whom you asked to see. This is the car that I would like to buy. The board approved the bid which he had submitted. The boy whose bicycle was missing has got a new one. Relative pronouns refer to a noun or a noun phrase in the main clause, like we have said earlier, and you have to take note of that. Now, we refer to these nouns and noun phrases as antecedents. When you talk about antecedents, they are the nouns that the relative pronouns in a sentence refer to. In the sentences displayed earlier, we have man, lady, boy, car, and bid. They are all antecedents in the examples given above. Let's go on to see the last type of pronouns that we have in English, and that is the indefinite pronouns. When you talk about the indefinite pronouns, they are pronouns that refer to things or persons generally. They are not specific as to who or what they are exactly, and that is why they are referred to as indefinite. Examples of indefinite pronouns include any, anybody, anyone, anything, anywhere, some, somebody, someone, something, none, nobody, no one, nothing, few, little, many, several, each, and so on and so forth. Let's see some examples. Anyone can enter. Nobody was there. No one knows tomorrow. Someone cares. Everyone should be present. Something is about to happen. In English, indefinite pronouns usually go along with the singular form of the verb in the sentence in which they occur. There is a video that has been put together on Concord in English. We're going to elucidate more on this. Thank you for watching this video. Kindly connect with us on our social media platforms on akademia.com.ng, and we want to implore you to subscribe to this channel and share it to other people you think this would benefit. Stay tuned for more educative videos from this channel. Thank you for watching.